He must be removed before the council meets.
The Emperor suspects nothing.
You know, sometimes an entire empire doesn't fall with a bang. It falls with a whisper, a quiet word, a door left unlocked. Today, we're opening up a historical cold case, the betrayal of Emperor Maximilian. Was it a simple, calculated act of treason? Or was it something else entirely? A desperate, last-ditch effort to save lives? This is the story of how one man's decision sealed an emperor's fate and completely changed the course of Mexican history. Okay, picture this. It's May 15th, 1867. It's before dawn, and the air in the city of Querétaro is just thick with tension. For 72 grueling days, Emperor Maximilian and his last 9,000 loyal men have been trapped here. They're starved, they're besieged, their fortress, the convent of the Cruz, is about to become their tomb. And the key to that tomb, well, it's in the hands of one of the emperor's most trusted friends. The end came, but not how you'd expect. Not with a massive battle, but with a strange, eerie silence. Elite Republican troops just walked in. No alarms were sounded, no shots were fired, no resistance at all. By sunrise, the emperor was a prisoner. So the question isn't really why the empire fell, we know why. The real mystery, the one we're digging into today, is how it fell so easily and so silently. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the moment the fortress fell. Then, we'll get to know the key players, the emperor and his confidant. We're going to go back and relive that brutal 72-day siege, just to understand the sheer desperation. And then, we'll dive into the two completely conflicting stories of what happened that night before we get to the tragic end. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, May 15th. The Republic's elite commandos, the Cazadores de Galeana, they don't storm the walls. No, they're led through a gate. They move like ghosts through the courtyard, disarming the sentries who are asleep at their posts. Within minutes, the very heart of the imperial defense is taken without a single shot being fired. The emperor is completely trapped. And the man who allegedly opened that gate, his name is Colonel Miguel Lopez. Now, this wasn't just any officer. He was the commander of the Empress's own personal regiment. He was one of Maximilian's closest friends. The betrayal, if that's what it was, came from deep inside the emperor's most intimate circle. So on one side of this, you have Maximilian. He's an Austrian archduke, a real idealist, but he is completely out of his depth in this brutal war. And on the other side, you have Colonel Lopez. He's Maximilian's compadre. I mean, they were so close that Maximilian was the godfather to Lopez's son. But Lopez had a history. Back during the Mexican-American War, he was accused of being a renegado, a turncoat. And that little fact hangs like a shadow over this entire story. To really understand what happened, you have to understand the desperation. See, after his French allies completely abandoned him, Maximilian decided to make his last stand in Querétaro. One of his own generals later called it a military mousetrap. And for 72 long days, that trap just kept closing in tighter and tighter. By early May, any hope they had is just a distant memory. The food is gone. Ammunition is critically low. The general they sent for reinforcements? He's been defeated. And now disease is sweeping through the ranks. Dysentery, typhus, even the emperor himself is sick. The empire isn't just losing this fight, it's literally starving and dying inside the walls of Querétaro. And this brings us right to the heart of the mystery, because after the city falls, two completely different stories emerge, two different realities. Was Colonel Lopez a traitor who sold out his emperor for his own safety and a bag of cash? Or was he actually a loyal soldier, following a secret order? The answer really depends on who you believe. The accusation is as simple as it is brutal. Lopez sold out his emperor for silver, 30,000 pesos. The exact amount is debated, sure, but this story, Betrayal for Profit, has haunted his name for more than a century. He's been called the Judas of Querétaro. Okay, so let's break down the two sides of the coin. First, there's the mercenary traitor theory. The motive? Greed and self-preservation. The evidence? Well, witnesses saw him walking around freely after the surrender, and he was given a passport by the Republicans. But then you have the authorized emissary theory. The idea here is that he was actually following Maximilian's secret orders to prevent a final bloody massacre. And the key evidence for this? Well, it comes 20 years later from the last person you'd ever expect, the enemy commander. I mean, try to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine you're Maximilian's personal secretary. You're now a prisoner of war. And then you look out and you see Colonel Lopez, the emperor's closest confidant, just strolling through the streets, still in his uniform, totally free. What would you think? For the imperialists trapped in that city, the betrayal seemed obvious.
Okay, now fast forward 20 years. The Lopez the Traitor story is basically set in stone. It's history. Then General Escobedo, the Republican commander who captured them, gives an interview, and he drops a bombshell. He claims Lopez was no traitor. He says Lopez was an emissary, acting on direct orders from Maximilian to negotiate an end to the siege and save his men from a pointless slaughter.
But here's the thing, regardless of Lopez's true motives, whether he was a hero or a villain, the result was the same. The emperor was a prisoner. The Second Mexican Empire was over, and the Republic was ready to deliver its final judgment. Two men, two completely different fates. Colonel Lopez, the man at the center of the controversy, would walk free. Emperor Maximilian, the ruler of this failed empire, was about to face a firing squad. And this incredible contrast is really at the heart of why we're still talking about this today. Think about that. A passport for one man, a death sentence for Maximilian and his two most loyal generals. This is the stark reality that has fueled those accusations of a shady backroom deal for more than 150 years. I mean, how could one guy just walk away while the others were condemned to die? The trial, well, trial might be a generous word. It was really a formality. They held it in a theater, of all places, but the verdict was never in any real doubt. A law passed years earlier made helping a foreign invasion a capital offense. For Maximilian and his generals, there was simply no escape. On June 19th, on a small hill overlooking Querétaro, the final act of this tragedy played out. Eyewitnesses said Maximilian faced his death with incredible courage. He famously gave gold coins to the soldiers in the firing squad, asking them not to shoot him in the face so his mother could recognize his body back in Austria. His final words were a plea for the country he'd tried to rule. May my blood seal the misfortunes of my new fatherland. So why has this Lopez the Traitor story been so powerful for so long? Well, honestly, because it's a simple story that worked for both sides. For the victorious Republicans, it proved the moral corruption of the empire. And for the defeated imperialists, it was a comforting lie. Their emperor wasn't beaten, he was betrayed. It's a narrative that let everyone avoid some much more complicated truths.
And what about Colonel Lopez? Well, he got to keep his life, but he lost his honor. He was never tried or imprisoned by the new government, but he was branded a Judas for the rest of his days, living in social exile. He eventually published a manifesto pleading his case to the world, claiming he was just following orders, but nobody listened. The story of the traitor was just too good to let go.
The execution of Maximilian was so much more than just the death of one man. It was the death of an idea. It was the definitive, final end of European monarchy in the Americas. It was a bloody and decisive statement of Mexican sovereignty. The empire was dead, and a new chapter for Mexico was about to begin.
And so, this case remains open. Traitor, scapegoat, or just a loyal soldier? Was he a greedy man who sold out his friend, or a scapegoat who took the fall for his emperor? Or maybe he was just a desperate man caught in an absolutely impossible situation. History doesn't really give us an easy answer. So now you've seen the evidence. What's your verdict?